So good for radio, right? This is so perfect for radio. But this is a tour T-shirt from the Thrack album. Actually, it's from the album Vroom, the EP before they released the the whatever it was, Thrack. Right. So yeah, this is from 1995, and it still fits.
That's amazing.
It still fits. Thank you. I didn't have to work out for it. But yeah, I've got So, this shirt is 30 years old, which means I'm 30 years old.
Of course.
There it is.
At least. Well,
you're a very large baby.
yeah, your mother was 106 when she had you. So.
I've never heard that combination of words directed at me ever before. You're a very large baby. But probably only the last time, though.
If you were 30 and it's just math. Come on, man. It's just math. And
you mean physically a very large baby. I thought you meant like emotionally.
No.
Oh, okay.
And if Crimson is about anything, it's about math. I mean, and if you get into like post-punk math rock, that's another place to hang. You know, the Crimson stuff. It's weird because I grew up in an era, or I grew up in the 80s, and that's when the 80s band was, and as I was a math science guy. I mean, so there was something appealing to the mathematics of it, but as a drummer, you know, Bill Bruford could still swing. Mm-hmm. And so he plays these weird compound meters, but he still swings. Mm-hmm. And I think Steven's probably in the same boat here, and that is, you know, I grew up listening to this, loving this music, and never in a million years thinking I'd ever have a chance to play it live on stage. And now I can, Thursday night at Montrose Saloon. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got my, like, Octobon drums to you know, get the sounds right on the drums and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank God Coz is in this band to help us count.
Yeah, I'm the designated counter.
He's the designated counter.
The only way I can keep track in Starless is to watch you. Is to watch you counting 13 out loud.
Well, Coz is the one who taught me how to count 13.
Well, the first rehearsal, and I think this happens when you're a working musician, when you play a lot, is you know how to get to a point when you're playing other music that you can just kind of feel it and just go for it. And then, you know, first couple of rehearsals, we tried doing that with the Crimson stuff. It's like, no. We gotta subdivide. We gotta count. We gotta make sure that we are in the same place.
It will go into the ditch.
And that's why they call it discipline.
That's right. That's exactly why they call it discipline.
Yeah. Which we had in the set, but had to remove because.
Well, no. It's still.
Are we still gonna try
a possibility?
Right.
Table.
We got like 4 whole days left.
I'm ready, man.
We got
I'm ready
4
to do
whole
it.
days.
If you've ever
the countdown to discipline.
If you've ever heard it, like most songs, obviously are in 4/4. I'm talking to the musicians and the laymen out there, but you know, King Crimson, they don't do that. You know, they just don't do that. At times they do, but I think it's not so much that it's about doing things that are complicated or it's the fact that you're pushing things beyond just the regular stuff. You know, if you've heard everything a million times over, think about like, I kind of look at it as like hotel art versus like actual art. Yeah. How many times have we seen those paintings in those hotels?
Yeah.
And they're nothing.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Art Institute. That's what it's like, to me anyway. Yeah.
Well, there are degrees of that. I remember reading an interview with Moby, actually, of all people, and he was talking about current popular bands, and he's like, I just want people to challenge themselves as listeners.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, and it's something to aspire to. Not every listener wants to be challenged, but some do.
Yeah.
And this is music for them.
Yeah. I heard the weirdest connection to King Crimson the other day. Dave Matthews is a huge fan.
Really?
Yes.
Now that's a surprise.
Yes. Right. And he said there was like, I can't remember what song it was, but I think it was like Ants Marching or something like that, where he took like the influence from a Crimson song. I just got tons of instant respect for Dave Matthews. I already like him, but know that that's like part of his sort of his vocabulary that inspires him is just.
I have a buddy who's a big Dave Matthews fan, and he sent me that clip
of
that interview when he's talking about it. So yeah,
Howard Stern.
Well, yeah. So speaking of the hotel art versus real, I'm a big Mark Rothko fan, And what I've read about Mark Rothko is, he's the one who did the field paintings.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a picture of a Rothko, and the colors will come out different than if you go actually look at it at a museum. And that's something that kind of, I guess the parallel would be listening to King Crimson is a heck of a lot different than playing it. Yeah. Because it they make it seem effortless and seamless, and playing it is a different animal. I don't know. That may just be me.
No.
Listen, to quote Bill Bruford, it's a terrible place.
What's your feelings on that, Coz? Help me out here, brother.
Oh man. Well, no. It's funny because on the one hand, it's like when you come into this and it's like, okay, I have to learn this. I have to count this. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. But as you do it, you start to. You don't want it to sound like a math exercise. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge. And I don't. And we were talking about the pushback that Erik got when he first talked about this. Is I get that they are a very important band and where they are, but the music is not unapproachable.
Right.
And the music is not impossible.
That's right.
And I think people should try to play it. And we could fall on our faces, but we tried. So that might be worth showing up on Thursday for. When the whole thing, either happens or doesn't. And even, Crimson, when they would improvise, sometimes they'd not go where they wanted. Read all about it in Fripp's diaries.
Yeah, it's true. I got to say, Mr. Wizard, this is probably the most fearless group of musicians I've ever come across, man. They just absolutely go for it.
Same to you, dude. Same to you, man.
Where it should be.
Yeah.
Keep it dangerous.
Keep it dangerous.
Absolutely.
I was thinking if you now this is at the Montrose Saloon, okay? Tickets are in advance are $8. At the door it's $10. Okay? If you were to add up, let's say you were able to get like the 68 to 70 era of King Crimson and put them on a stage, right? And then the 70 to 74 and put them on a stage. And then the 80s era and then the 90s era. You would probably pay a pretty penny for that. Right? Now, let's take that price that you might think, let's cut that in half, okay? And cut that in half again, and cut it in half again, and we're still cheaper than that. $10. $10.
3 sets.
Three sets.
I would have to go back and check, but we might be cheaper than when, and I think this actually happened, King Crimson played at the University of Chicago in like 82, maybe?
Wow.
I think.
February of 82.
Okay.
Wow.
There, Mr. Wizard.
Mr. Wizard
knows.
Oh,
Do you know the price?
You get the stub?
82.
Do you have the t-shirt?
It'll probably be about $12.
So you saw him on the Beat Tour.
I did not see them on the Beat
or
Tour.
Discipline then.
Actually, the show you were talking about at University of Chicago, I didn't even know that it happened until well after it was over. Back in 1982, where do you find your concerts? Well, you look at the Reader.
Yep.
Right.
University of Chicago wasn't advertising in the Reader in 1982. It was a South Side thing. I didn't even know about it. And if I even heard about it, I mean, I knew that they played the Park West in 81.
Yeah.
But I went to see them later in 1982. They were playing at Poplar Creek.
Okay.
I remember Poplar Creek.
Yeah.
And John Anderson was opening on one of his solo tours.
Wow.
And all he was playing was Yes stuff on that tour.
Oh, wow.
And we drove all the way out there. The weather was pretty rough that whole day. I mean, it rained and rained and rained.
Yeah.
We're basically in the road to get into the parking lot when they canceled the show.
No.
Because I guess there was too much water had gotten into the seating section and it couldn't drain out. The place was flooded. They had power issues. Had to cancel literally at the last minute. So I had to wait 2 more years to go back to Poplar Creek to see him in 84. And that was the best concert I ever saw in my
Three
life.
of a perfect
Three
pair.
of a perfect pair, yeah.
Three of a perfect pair. That
Oh,
was amazing.
I don't know if any of y'all know a group called Between the Buried and Me.
Yeah.
They do a cover of Three of a Perfect Pair.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I think I've had that come up when I search for it.
I mean, you could find King Crimson's influence everywhere. You can find their covers everywhere. Like Primus, for the longest time, Les Claypool has been doing Thalahun Jinji.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Lennon Claypool Delirium. Definitely check that band out. It's got Sean Lennon and Les Claypool. I got turned on to them with, it was like a festival show. They opened with In the Court of the Crimson King. They opened with it.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Les Claypool, right? So, he's definitely a fan. So if you're a fan of Primus, Uncle Les says King Crimson is A-OK.
Well, I mean, Jerry was a race car driver is pretty much elephant talk. So
Absolutely.
Yes, there's
Absolutely.
a lot of those copied tones that, I don't know how Les Claypool did it, but, the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
So if anybody can do it, and that was early in his career, he was able to get those sounds,
Yeah,
and he's just been going and going and going ever since.
Yeah.
Les Claypool's always welcome on a Saturday night.
Always welcome.
Yeah, the Lennon Claypool delirium. Like, I'm serious, you will not be disappointed. Like, it made, it's like old school classic or like progressive rock. Like deep progressive. Like there's definitely like Genesis influences there. Like old school Genesis stuff. So, but we're talking about King Crimson. Sorry. I'm an advocate of great music. I'm just so glad to be here, man. God, all these albums, man, these records.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tens of thousands of records. Sitting
man,
in the middle
man.
of
I love it.
Every kind of music if it's ever been recorded, it's probably a sample of it at least in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of every genre from every corner of the world. So, yeah.
I'm looking at this album right on the corner of my eye. It says "Cop Shoot Cop."
Yeah.
Circle X. Love it.
Yeah, Cop Shoot Cop.
I love it, man.
They were around in the 80s and the 90s, and I don't think they've been too active lately. They had 2 bass players in their band.
Nice.
Really?
Some very heavy stuff, yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Now, you're set tomorrow, on Thursday at the Montrose Saloon. Are you playing it in chronological order or just sort of just smattering? Like, we'll open with something from the first album and then go into Red or Discipline or...
It's kind of in chronological order.
Ish.
Ish.
Okay.
There's a couple of bounce backs, back and forth, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just I think if we were to jump, say from like, let's see, like I don't know, 21st Century Schizoid Man to like Elephant Talk, it would just be too weird, You would think like, who are these 2 different bands that you're listening to, But yeah, we're all over the place. Yeah.
I think
We will
I can
melt-
handle that. I think that'd be great.
Nice. We will melt faces. We will change lives. We will make you reach for your paraphernalia
he knows the best
outside of
changes.
the Montrose Saloon.
Yeah, got to walk down the block.
Walk down the block. It's legal in Illinois now, so
Yeah.
get a medical card.
So what? So for each of you, what's your favorite Crimson album, or the thing that really made you just this is something I want to get more of?
Like, the one that turned us into fans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually started out with 3 of a Perfect Pair, but slipped backward to Discipline being my favorite. But I started with 3 of a Perfect Pair. And I remember seeing, do y'all remember that television show Fridays? It was like an
Absolutely.
SNL knockoff.
Yes, sir.
And King Crimson was a musical guest. And I saw that, I think I was in 6th grade or so, 7th grade.
Nice.
And it just absolutely exploded my brain. I had never seen instruments like that. I never heard anything like that. And it was kind of in a cognitive dissonance because I wanted to make sense of it, but I didn't have enough musical knowledge in order to synthesize it or incorporate it into what I had known up until that point, which was mostly Kiss and disco records.
Same here. Same here.
So.